Switching gears now and talking about what changes we have and haven't seen this year in the C-suite. A report from Challenger Gray and Christmas shows that the highest percentage of female CEOs have been installed among new entrants to the C-suite this year. But Melody Hahm, I think looking at the overall picture of how changes have or haven't happened at that level, still quite depressingly low.
Exactly. Although progress is welcome at any stage in this point, I must say. So Challenger Gray and Christmas, the executive search firm, outplacement firm, specifically looked at gender metrics starting in 2010. So this is the highest ever on record. Of the 591 replacement CEOs recorded in the first half of this year, 23.4% were women. What I actually love about this report, Miles, is it's not the Fortune 500, right? It's not even the Fortune 8,000. These are companies that have been in business for 2 years based in the United States that have 10 or more employees. So this is actually getting a very good pulse of average America. We've so often during this pandemic talked about small businesses and how they have been faring disproportionately worse than corporate companies. But just looking at some of the kind of turnover that's happened, we're talking about the Phoenix Symphony finally having a female CEO. We're talking about the College Football Hall of Fame, the male CEO being replaced by a female this year. Everything from Tate's Bake Shop to Red Eye Coffee. For me, it gives a good pulse of what the overall picture looks like, and not just high tech firms. Although I do want to point out, as you alluded to, the metrics are really dismal when it comes to people of color, especially when I looked through the list. Many of the replacements, sure, they were women, but most of them were white women, which shows that there's still such a large chasm between the opportunities that even white women have from their counterparts who are Black and people of color. So even thinking about one of the most high-profile departures this year is Stacey Phillips Brown, who was the CEO of Taskrabbit, which was acquired by IKEA back in 2017. And she really was holding down the fort in terms of being at the helm of a tech firm and really paving the way for others to look like her. So even in her departure note, she acknowledged the fact that this could potentially be a setback, but she has made it the utmost priority, speaking to her own executive team and the board members of TaskRabbit, that it's kind of a necessity that the replacement will have to be someone of color. And let's keep in mind, to date, Ursula Burns has been the only Black woman to lead a Fortune 500 company, but she stepped down as CEO of Xerox in 2016. So it's been 4 years where there's been this vacuum of talent. So to your point, overall, glimmering signs of positivity for the most part, but not on a higher level for sure.
Yeah, and Melody, just quickly on that last point. I mean, that, it's right at the end of the piece, and that really stood out to me that there has not been a Black woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company in 5 years, and there's actually only been one in all of corporate American history. And I think that it's such a glaring oversight by all of these businesses, because as we've discussed, over the last couple of months, it's a pipeline issue too. You're basically saying if you don't have any Black female leaders, that there's no one at the VP level, or there's not that many candidates at the VP, senior VP type level that are being tracked towards those leadership roles. You don't just fall out of the sky and become a CEO. That's a lifetime of work to get to that seat.
Exactly. And even thinking about someone like Stacey Phillips Brown, whom I just mentioned, she was at Google for, I think, 15 years before being plucked for this role. I think she joined TaskRabbit at a lower level position before climbing up the ranks. But that's such a rarity, right? For folks to not have had a previous small firm, or they were an entrepreneur themselves before being plucked to be the CEO of a larger firm. So to your point, it is a structural systemic problem, which of course is a microcosm of the larger inequities and social injustices that we've been talking about on our programming for the last few months. And I do feel like the coronavirus has merely exacerbated those sorts of disparities to a certain extent, which is not necessarily favorable news when you look at the C-suite going forward.
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to think of the right word for. I've been thinking about this, all the time. What do we call the pandemic? Because it seems like it's opened us up to so many other things that were kind of ignored beneath the surface of whatever we thought reality was back in February of 2020. All right, Melody, thanks for that story.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.